The man who once turned rock into pure spectacle is back in the headlines. But this time, it isn't about fire-breathing, pyrotechnics, or sold-out arenas. What Gene Simmons, the demon of rock, has done is stirring up both outrage and awe. Longtime supporters are asking if he's finally pushed too far, or if this is his boldest play yet. The unraveling began quietly, almost too quietly. In March of 2025, just days before he was set to launch a highly publicized solo run, Simmons was hit with the kind of blow that felt less like a scheduling hiccup and more like humiliation. Fans and promoters woke up to the news that nearly two-thirds of the shows, 17 out of 23, were suddenly gone from the calendar. Tickets refunded, schedules torn apart, whole plans erased overnight. It wasn't the Gene Simmons fans thought they knew. For decades, the demon could command packed stadiums with ease. Now, whispers started spreading across fan forums and music blogs. Had the market finally moved on? Were tickets simply not selling? Promoters quietly admitted that demand in several cities had been flat. The image of Simmons facing rows of empty seats didn't match the legend who once helped sell out stadiums around the world. Eddie Trunk, one of rock's loudest voices, cut straight to the point online. Just to be clear, he posted, "All Gene Simmons dates are not cancelled. Some are. Several shows on, several cancelled. As to why they cancelled, it doesn't take a genius." The remark was blunt, and it echoed what many were already thinking: this wasn't bad luck. It was bad demand. What made the sting worse was that Simmons had spent months bragging about his new business model. He called it semi-genius. No manager, no roadies, no trucks, no gear. Everything, amps, drums, hotels, flights, covered by promoters. He showed up with a guitar pick, played, and walked away with six figures in his pocket. Stripped down, lean, efficient. By his account, he was making more per show solo than he had with Kiss. It sounded clever, like the demon had found a way to beat the system. But then came reality. The smaller venues he booked didn't sell out. The ticket prices felt too high. VIP meet-and-greets became liabilities instead of goldmines. And when fans didn't show up, the entire house of cards collapsed. What was meant to be effortless turned into a logistical nightmare of refunds, empty dates, and panicked promoters. The meltdown sparked a bigger conversation about Simmons himself. Could the magic really exist without the Kiss machine behind him? For years, Kiss wasn't just a band, it was a spectacle. Fire, makeup, explosions, characters larger than life. Alone, Simmons tried to prove the music and personality were enough. The empty seats suggested otherwise. To understand how strange this fall feels, you have to rewind to where it all began. In the early 70s, Simmons and Paul Stanley were in a struggling band called Wicked Lester. Their debut was so poorly received the label shelved it, locking the tapes away. Instead of quitting, they scrapped everything and dreamed bigger. They built Kiss not as a band but as a full-blown concept, for characters, face paint, and shows designed like theater. They didn't want to sound like anyone else. They wanted to look like nothing the rock world had ever seen. They named the band Kiss, a word Stanley thought was simple, powerful, and universal. Early gigs were tiny, sometimes only a handful of friends in the audience. But they treated everyone like it was Madison Square Garden. They studied comics, brought in magicians, and Simmons even learned to breathe fire, nearly setting himself ablaze the first time he tried. Instead of quitting, he doubled down, making it his signature. Piece by piece, the spectacle took shape. By 1975, their live album, Alive, captured the chaos of those shows and turned Kiss into a phenomenon. Within 18 months, they went from clubs to stadiums. The merchandise empire exploded too: masks, lunchboxes, comic books. They weren't just a band, they were a brand. For Simmons, who always thought like a businessman, this was a dream realized. He had turned failure into an empire. But with success came cracks. The late 70s saw tension, drugs, and burnout. In 1978, each member released a solo album on the same day, a stunt that tested their egos as much as their creativity. Simmons' record performed the best, going platinum, fueling his belief he could stand alone. That same year, they filmed Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, a project so campy it became infamous. For fans, it was a reminder that Kiss worked best on stage, not on screen. Still, Simmons chased Hollywood. In 1984, he landed a villain role in Michael Crichton's Runaway, proving he could be menacing without the makeup. Around the same time, his love life became tabloid fuel. He dated Cher, then famously left her for Diana Ross, Cher's best friend, creating a scandal that never quite faded. It kept him in the headlines even when the music didn't. The 80s brought reinvention. On live MTV, Kiss shocked fans by unmasking, revealing their real faces for the first time. The gamble paid off, with their album Lick It Up going gold and later platinum. Simmons and Stanley had proven they could adapt. And through it all, Simmons turned Kiss into a merchandising juggernaut. He often bragged that Kiss wasn't just a band, it was a brand, one that would outlast music trends. Offstage, his personal life remained just as colorful. He met actress Shannon Tweed in 1983 at the Playboy Mansion, beginning a relationship that spanned decades. For years, he swore he'd never marry, calling marriage a trap, until finally tying the knot with her nearly 3 decades later. Their family life became a reality TV hit with Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, giving fans a peek into his home life, his children, and the businessman behind the demon. Which is what makes the present moment so striking. After half a century of spectacle, Simmons tried to prove he could do it alone, leaner, sharper, without the massive machine of Kiss. Instead, he found himself facing the harshest critic of all, the market. Empty seats and cancelled dates don't just bruise an ego, they call into question a legacy. So has Gene Simmons crossed the line this time, or is this just another chapter in a life built on risk, reinvention, and controversy? The answer isn't simple. For some, this is proof that even the biggest icons can't outrun time. For others, it's just another setup before Simmons finds a new way to shock the world. Because if history has shown us anything, it's that Gene Simmons has always found a way to turn setbacks into headlines, and headlines into profit.